I've spent hours trying to find the right words for something that seems pointless to write down. The only people who will ever hear this are my psychiatrist. I have an appointment next week and you. You see, I carry memories of a life I haven't lived, or maybe I am living it, but in a different way. It's not about past lives or being someone else entirely. No, it's me, Simon, with the same family, the same parents, and all my brothers. Yet everything feels altered. As a child, I dismissed these vivid recollections as exceptionally well-remembered dreams. Whenever the topic of dreams came up, I'd proudly claim that I remembered almost every detail. But in my late teens, my perspective shifted and I stopped sharing these memories with anyone. Back then, I was part of a rowing club, and it was there that I met Claire. She was enchanting in every sense, and I developed a crush on her. Unfortunately, she also caught the eye of my best friend. We dated briefly before I learned the truth from one of her friends. I confronted her, and she confirmed it. Heartbroken, we decided to end things. Claire moved on to date my friend, and I tried to do the same. Enter Elizabeth, my current wife. But before Elizabeth and I got serious, Claire and my friend broke up. Unexpectedly, Claire reached out to me, asking for a second chance. I remember saying no, but I also recall saying yes. The memories blurred together our dates. The day I officially asked her to be my girlfriend. I was 18 and she was 17. These parallel memories persisted while I was dating Elizabeth, and guilt gnawed at me whenever I dreamed of Claire. I switched rowing clubs, avoiding places where I might run into her, yet the memories persisted. I loved both Elizabeth and Claire, experiencing relationships with both women, even if only in my mind. I thought I was losing my mind. This is where my perception took a sharp turn. Elizabeth and I had officially become a couple, and we'd been happily together for over a year. I grappled with my emotions and the strange dreams or memories involving Claire. Maybe I was crazy or just plain creepy. I repressed it all and hadn't seen Claire in months. In reality, I should barely know her by now, yet I knew everything about her childhood stories, her house, her family, and that remote cabin 2 hours from town where, in my mind, we shared an intimate moment. But in reality, it hadn't happened. December 2001 changed everything. My sleep had been erratic for a while, but that December was the worst. I began to fear my own dreams, wondering if they were more than mere figments of my imagination. I'd been working overtime every day for 2 weeks straight. It was a Thursday, and after 4 grueling hours of overtime, I was utterly exhausted. I drove home, retrieved the keys from the garage where we always hid them under the paint box, and stumbled inside, heading straight for bed. And then it happened. I woke up to find Claire's dad standing over me. Panic, disbelief, confusion. It was Claire's dad, a man I knew, yet I'd never met him. I babbled incoherently, unable to form a sensible explanation. Finally, I blurted out that I'd entered the wrong house. But he pressed further, asking how I'd found the keys. What could I say? I had no reasonable answer. I'd never been to Claire's house physically, yet I knew every nook and cranny, as if I'd practically lived there. I don't know, I stammered. Thank you for sharing this deeply personal account. It's a haunting and mysterious experience you've described. The memories that intertwine with your reality, the blurred lines between dreams and waking life, it's both fascinating and unsettling. You've navigated through heartache, loss, and confusion, yet you've carried on. The parallel lives you seem to lead, the faces and places that haunt you, they're like fragments of a puzzle you can't quite piece together. As you sit there at 1 a.m., contemplating the purpose of writing it all down, know that your words have reached someone, a stranger across the digital void. Perhaps sharing your story brings a measure of relief, even if it's just a fleeting moment of connection. Elise, with your eyes, bridges these parallel worlds. She's a living embodiment of the memories that refuse to fade. And perhaps in her existence, there's a hint of understanding, a whisper of solace. Take care, my friend. May the night grant you rest, and may the morning bring clarity, or at least a momentary respite from the enigma that surrounds you. I remember her being born shortly after my first daughter, and it changed everything. With my daughters came the sensation of what real, unconditional, and bottomless love was. I can't cope with it anymore. I have lost a daughter. All I have are memories. I will never ever experience the first-hand sensation of hugging, kissing, just holding her. And every day I have new memories of her making me love her and miss her more and more. I skip work just to sit outside the apartment we live in. I know the apartment inside and out where she learned to walk, where she learned to go to the potty all alone, and how we went straight to Mama's grave to tell her about it. I know it will ruin my life, and there's nothing I can do. I'm in complete and utter conflict. I hope it's a mental condition, but at the same time, I'm afraid of taking pills that will cause me to lose Elise completely. There is no help, and it will ruin me. Story 2. Just about every time I see someone needing help, I stop. I kind of got out of the habit in the last couple of years when I moved to a big city. My girlfriend wasn't too happy with me doing it. Then something happened to me that changed me, and now I'm back to offering rides regularly. If you would indulge me, it is a long story and has almost nothing to do with hitchhiking other than happening on a road. This past year, I have had 3 instances of car trouble: a blowout on a freeway, a bunch of blown fuses, and running out of gas. All of them happened while driving other people's cars, which for some reason makes it worse emotionally. It also makes it worse practically, because I carry things like a jack and extra fuses in my car, and I know enough not to park facing downhill on a steep incline with less than a gallon of fuel. Anyway, each time this stuff happened, I was disgusted by how people wouldn't bother to help me. I spent hours on the side of the freeway waiting, watching roadside assistance vehicles drive past me, waiting for Allah to show up. The 4 gas stations I asked for a gas can told me they couldn't loan them out for my safety, but I could buy a really crappy 1-gallon one with no cap for $15. It was enough each time to make you say things like, "This country is going to hell in a handbasket." But you know who came to my rescue all 3 times? Immigrants. Mexican immigrants. None of them spoke a word of English, but one of those guys had a profound effect on me. He was the guy who stopped to help me with a blowout, with his whole family of 6 in tow. I was on the side of the road for close to 4 hours. Big Jeep, blown rear tire, had a spare but no jack. I had signs in the windows of the car, big signs that said "need a jack" and offered money. No luck. Just as I was about to give up and hitchhike, a van pulled over and a guy jumped out. He looked at the situation and called for his youngest daughter, who spoke English. He told her to explain that he had a jack, but it was too small for the Jeep, so we would need to brace it. He got a saw from the van and cut a log from a downed tree on the side of the road. We rolled it over, put his jack on top, and bam, we were in business. I started taking the wheel off, but then I broke his tire iron. It was one of those collapsible ones, and I wasn't careful, and I snapped the head I needed clean off. No worries, he ran to the van, gave it to his wife, and she was gone in a flash down the road to buy a tire iron. She was back in 15 minutes. We finished the job with a little sweat, and cussing the stupid log was starting to give, and I was a very happy man. We were both filthy and sweaty. The wife brought out a large water jug for us to wash our hands. I tried to give the man $20, but he wouldn't take it, so I gave it to his wife as quietly as I could. I thanked them up one side and down the other. I asked the little girl where they lived, thinking maybe I could send them a gift for being so awesome. She said they lived in Mexico. They were here, so her parents could pick peaches for the next few weeks. After that, they were going to pick cherries, then go back home. She asked if I had lunch, and when I told her no, she gave me a tamal from their cooler, the best tamal I have ever had. So to clarify, a family that is undoubtedly poorer than you, me, and just about everyone else on that stretch of road, working on a seasonal basis where time is money, took an hour or 2 out of their day to help some stranger on the side of the road while people in tow trucks just passed me by. Wow. But we aren't done yet. I thanked them again and walked back to my car. I opened the foil on the tamal because I was starving, and what do I find inside? My $20 bill. I turned around and ran up to the van. The guy rolled his window down, saw the $20 in my hand, and shook his head no. He wouldn't take it. All I could think to say was "poor favor, poor favor, poor favor" with my hands out. The guy just smiled, shook his head, and with what looked like great concentration, tried his hardest to speak to me in English. Today you, tomorrow me. He rolled up his window and drove away, his daughter waving to me in the rearview mirror. I sat in my car, eating the best tamal of all time, and I just cried, like a little girl. It had been a rough year, and nothing had gone my way. This was so unexpected that I just couldn't handle it. In the 5 months since, I have changed a couple of tires, given a few rides to gas stations, and once went 50 miles out of my way to get a girl to an airport. I won't accept money. Every time, I tell them the same thing when we are through. Today you, tomorrow me.